Hi everybody, my name is Hannah and this is Pepper and Pine, and I have a botany lesson to share with you today. We are working through our live education Waldorf curriculum for botany, and today's lesson is on palms. It is part of our lilies and bulbs and monocots lesson, but we are departing from the curriculum momentarily in order to do a few religiously inspired lessons, and this one is on the date palm, which works perfectly for this lesson in our botany unit. We're using plants of the Qur'an as inspiration for this lesson, both in content as well as in illustration. This book is so beautifully illustrated with watercolors that have so much detail. It is an absolute joy to look at, and the content is just right for our botany and religious lessons. We're using our main lesson books from a child's dream. They measure 9.5 inches by 12.5 inches, and each page is separated by an onion skin, which I usually take out. Sometimes we use them as well. And if you do remove those onion skins, be sure to leave them in while you're working on other lessons. I'm using my General's pastel chalk pencils for the detailed work of this lesson. And we also have our Sargent Art square chalk pastels, which I can use on the chalkboard as well as in this main lesson book. You just need to be sure to spray it once you are done in order to protect your work. So for this project, I'm going to start out with my Sargent Art Square pastels. I've already pulled some colors that I want to use for this illustration, and I found that when I was done with the illustration, I realized that I wanted a few more leaves, so I'm going to do something that's a little bit different and maybe unexpected, and I'm going to show that to you a little bit later on in this video. I'm starting out with the trunk of the palm tree and then adding a lot of those gorgeous leaves. I am using more of a sagey green, which I think can be a nice base color for the palm leaves. I think you could stop here, but otherwise I would add a few lighter tones and a few darker tones just to give the palm leaves a little bit more dimension. And then I'm starting out with 4 big bunches of dates, maybe even 5 bunches of dates. And I'm using my square chalk pastels at first, followed by the chalk pencils in order to give it a little bit more detail. You can stop here. I think this is sufficient. You get the gesture of the tree. It's a little bit more simple to copy an illustration like this rather than one with a lot more detail, but I am coming back in with my chalk pencils in order to add a little bit more to the trees and give it a little bit more texture and dimension. And then I want to add a little bit more to the base of this tree. There is a particular shape at the base that's a little bit more bulbous, and then you have the roots and then some of the ground that's surrounding the palm tree. I don't think the scale is just right for this tree, but it's good enough at this point. I'm knocking off some of that extra chalk dust, and then we're going to take it outside to use our matte fixative. You want to be sure to be in a well-ventilated place when you're adding your matte finish to your illustrations. You want to shake it well, and then you're going to gently spray the illustration. It's okay if it gets on other parts of the page, and you can draw over this and you can write over this, but you do want to make sure that it is completely dry and not smelling before you continue your work. At this point, I'm using my Lyra color pencils in order to add a little bit more detail to the palm leaves, and then add even more palm leaves within the chalk in order to give it a more full look, because as I look back to the illustration that is in the book called Plants of the Qur'an, I realized that the tree itself was a little bit more full, and I wanted to do that as well, although it is totally not necessary. So I went ahead and I added a little bit more, and because it's a different art medium, it gives it a little bit more texture as well. Then we went ahead and I wrote our content on either side of the tree, which will be the content I use in order to present this lesson. I hope that you enjoyed this look at our botany lesson for date palms. Don't forget to check out the blog post that accompanies this video for more information and more tutorials, as well as links to all of the resources that we have used for our botany main lesson block. You can find that link down in the description box below. And if you'd like to see how we're homeschooling on a daily basis, you can find me on Instagram and now on TikTok at Pepper and Pine.